Oh, I am so excited to bring you today motivational speaker and author, public speaking coach, confidence coach, Robin Sachs. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for the invite. So happy to be here with you, Lindsay, on a beautiful morning.
I know we were saying it's bright and early Monday morning, which I'm loving that we get to start our Monday like this. This brings me energy for the rest of the day. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Can we just dive right into your book? Because I think it has the most fun title, and I think it'll probably tell us a bit about you too. But Get Off My Bus, How to Get Clarity, Get into the Driver's Seat, and Get Moving in Your Life. Where did this all stem from for you?
So I have been a personal development junkie my entire life. And at some point, as it always does, we're the last ones to know. People started saying to you, wow, you're kind of good at this. You know a lot about this and you're always able to help other people and stuff. You should do something with this. And like most of us do, we go, no, really? Really? I'm not that good, because it's just what we do. It's who we are. And we don't think that other people aren't like that. And so I was lucky to an extent, but also worked very hard to figure out, well, how do I do that? How do I make that a career? How do I go out and help people with this personal development thing? And as I was going through the journey of learning how to make that something where I can help serve others and make it a business for myself, something that kept really jumping out at me was this idea that, we think personal development is all about us. Right? And the focus is on us and what we can do with us and how we can control what we can control and all of those things, which are absolutely true. However, we're only half the story. We are surrounded by other people constantly, and we have to work with people and live with people and deal with people and people of all different personalities and types and people with their own things that they're bringing into every conversation and every situation. And what started getting me thinking about this idea about how personal development is half you and half other people, because they're a big part of your equation. And so Get Off My Bus was an analogy that I developed that really was about how do you manage the other people in your life, especially while you're on your personal or professional development journey. And the analogy is simply this. Every one of us is born and we're a bus driver, and we have our own bus that we drive through our lives. And as we drive through our lives, people are constantly getting on our bus. People are constantly getting off of our bus. And some people come on for a moment and they're gone. Some people come on for a lifetime. They might move a little closer to the front or farther to the back, depending on what you're doing in your life. But they're always there. Some people come on and off. But whenever you are at a point personally where you're stuck, or you're looking to do the next thing, or you're looking to improve upon yourself, there are 5 questions about your bus that I think are imperative to you being able to do what you want to do or not. And the 5 questions are, number 1, who's driving your bus right now? In other words, are you still in the driver's seat, or did you get up and someone else sat down, or somebody else kind of pulled you out and they sat in your seat and they're driving your bus now? The second question is, if you look at the front of any city bus, what's across the top? Where it's going. Right? The destination. So what are you trying to do? Get some clarity on what is it you're even trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to go? And it doesn't have to be some long, far off goal. It could be this week, this month, this year. It could be with this particular project or situation. But you've got to get some clarity on what are you trying to do? If you don't have clarity on that, why are you doing anything? Or probably spinning wheels a bit. So where are you going? The third question has you turn around and look at your passengers. And that question is, who needs to get off your bus? and you chuckle, Lindsay, right? Because we all do. We all have these people. I'm sure we're these people for other people at times.
Sure.
Right. But, if you don't know who those people are, it's, when your phone rings and you look and go, I can't do this right now. And you just send it to voicemail. That's one of those people. So, who needs to get off your bus? Sometimes that is about literally throwing someone off your bus. If there's a toxic situation, a toxic person or relationship, that's about really throwing people off your bus. But most of the people that all came to our minds when I said, who needs to get off your bus? We all had a face and name come to mind. A lot of times that's a friend or a family member or a coworker. It's not that these are bad people. Oftentimes it's just that these are people who, for some reason, it might just be their energy. It might be everything they always say because they're a pessimist. You can't do that. That'll never work. They're the naysayers. They're those people who, they're not bad people. They just have a bad attitude oftentimes, and they're not bringing things to the mix that serve you moving forward. And so a lot of times we don't have to throw those people off the bus. Sometimes we can just, and we can talk a little more about this, kind of refocus off of them and let them naturally drift back on your bus a little bit. Because oftentimes the reason they're right up against that front seat grabbing the wheel, it feels like, is because we're hyper focused on them. Do you know what he did? Do you know what she said? And we keep replaying those things over and over. So who needs to get off your bus? Get some clarity on who those people are, and we can talk about, again, how to help them drift back so they're not right there with you all the time, because those are not the people you need at the front of your bus. The fourth question is, who needs to get on your bus? And that's all about when you get some clarity on what is it I'm trying to do? Where do I want to go? What am I heading towards? And I'm getting in my driver's seat. You can identify pretty clearly sometimes who you do want along for the ride. And these could be people with certain skill sets, with certain attitudes, just like the get off my bus people could be the naysayers. You don't need all that negativity. The people you might want on your bus are the people who go, I don't know if it'll work, but let's give it a try. They can just be those people who are almost cheerleaders, or just, what's the worst that can happen? What do you need to do next? And they can sort of help to guide your thinking sometimes. Entrepreneurs, a lot of times, and this is one of those things, right? Everyone, and I've said this a billion times in my life, I wear so many hats, right? And the get off my bus question 4, I often ask people to ask themselves, why are you wearing so many hats? You don't need to wear that many hats. We think we do. We don't. What are the things, the 1, 2, 3 things that you do well, that you do better than anyone else, that you are the only one who can do that? And if you're looking for more time and energy and often money, you know what? Buy back some of that time to do what you do well. You're allowed to delegate things. You're allowed to go get a personal assistant. You're allowed to do things by taking hats off and handing them to other people who probably do them better than you anyway, and take a lot less time. So who needs to get on your bus? The 5th question is a really important one that I think often gets overlooked, and it gets in our way quite often, which is why it's so important. Whose bus do you need to get off of? And that's really about, we all have things in our lives that we say yes to and that we take on. But what's interesting is there are always things that seem to linger in our planners, in our brains, right, on our schedules, that are things that might have fit really well a couple of years back, let's say, but don't necessarily fit now. But it's autopilot. Oh, I'm going to that meeting again this month. I'm hopping onto that call again, because we're just doing things because we do them. And, by taking some inventory, I do this a couple times a year of what am I doing that still fits? What can I still bring value to? What can still bring value to me? And if any of those 3 things aren't happening anymore, it's got to go away. And it's okay to step off of buses, whether that's relationships, personally or professionally, whether that is, organizations or things that you're on boards of, or a charity or something that truly you invested time in. But it's okay to say, it's time for me to step away and someone else to step in there. That's okay to do. So whose bus do you need to get off of to get yourself that time and energy that we're all always looking for? Where are we giving it away to that's really not something that needs to be done at this time?
Yeah. Okay. Is that all of them? Was there one more?
That's it. I think that's the
it.
5 we get.
Okay. Because I think we could have a lot of fun doing a case study with this. Let's take an actual person's life and something they're struggling with and walk somebody through these 5 steps. And since I'm health and fitness, we're gonna take let's take the busy mom. Okay. Who feels like everything you're talking about, too much time, energy going all these different places. Okay. So let's start with phase 1. This is busy mom who feels like she needs to lose a little weight, is feeling a little scattered throughout her day, doesn't feel like she has great family flow, and is just feeling a little like out of control in life and wants to, the new year's coming, wants to be able to pull back in some areas and just feel confident in these areas. Okay. So phase 1, let's go back through the steps with this individual. I should have been writing these down as we were talking, Robin. You've got to name question number 1.
Okay. Question number 1 is, who's driving your bus right now?
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about, let's name her. What's her name?
We'll make her Beth. I don't know.
Beth. Okay. Awesome. All right. So Beth. All right. Let's start with who's driving your bus right now. So in this particular situation, and again, I know I've been here. You may have been here, Lindsay. I'm sure many of the listeners have been here.
Yeah.
In this situation, I'm guaranteeing Beth feels like everyone is driving her bus except her in the moment, right? Because the kids are driving the bus, right? Whatever's happening at home, whatever's happening at work, everyone else is driving the bus because Beth is probably, which is very common, kind of on the autopilot life right now. And this might sound really familiar because, again, we've all been there and we may be there now, where every day looks the same. And every day, even though I say, I'm going to get some control today, or I'm going to do something different today. Oh my goodness, really? Okay, so that doesn't work. So we're going to figure out how to do that. Okay, so Beth gets up. Right? Beth probably hits snooze 3 or 4 times because you want to get every last moment in, right? That you can.
Right.
Of course, you got to jump up. Beth might be making lunches, right? Getting kids to school, right? Doing all of those kind of things. If Beth possibly is working, right? Beth's got to figure that stuff out too. So oftentimes the driver's seat starts first thing. And, you hear a lot about, in personal development, there are schools of thought of get up at 5 a.m., get up before everyone else does stuff, do this. You have to be an early riser. I'm a big proponent of no, you don't. If that works for you, phenomenal. But not everyone is wired that way. So if it works for someone else, that doesn't mean has to work for you. So don't beat yourself up if that's not your thing. Right? Because if Beth was a morning person already, she'd be getting up doing all kinds of stuff and starting that day right. For those of us who are not those jump out of bed people at 5 a.m. and get everyone ready, first of all, give yourself permission to not have to be that person. Because oftentimes those people are people that sometime in the afternoon or maybe in the evening or night, that's their high energy time.
Yeah, they kick it into gear. Yeah.
You got it. So one thing is, I'm going to have Beth identify when is her high energy time. Like mine's like at 1 in the afternoon. It's the weirdest thing. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a night owl. Early afternoon, boom. I could sit down and for 2 hours get 8 hours of stuff done. It's the wildest thing. So everyone's different. First, Beth, identify your high energy times. And why that's important is because if you're a morning person, this is going to be a different approach than if you're an evening person, because then we're going to have you prep things later in the evening or at night before you go to bed so that you don't have to think in the morning if you're not that person. So first thing, let's say is Beth a morning person or not? What do you think, Lindsay?
I'm thinking no, I'm agreeing with you.
All right. So let's do that. So with Beth, we're going to start the morning the night before or the day before. So once we figure out Beth's high energy time, one of the things on her to-do list every single day without fail is going to be, she's going to take like 5 minutes and she's going to put together the next morning. Because she doesn't have to think then when she gets up in the morning. It's just automatic. And that's okay to be on autopilot if you've set that autopilot up to really serve you and help. That's a great thing.
Do you believe a lot of that? Like most of us need to figure out more areas of our life to automate?
You know what a great question. Yes and no. And the reason, we'll take a little tangent here for a moment. One, automation can be so incredibly helpful with so many things, because there are so many things in our lives that take little bits of time all day just away from us that we don't need to be doing. They could be set up on autopilot. The reason I say and no is because just make sure we're picking and choosing those things carefully, because a lot of things, if you're not present, the challenge is you're not part of it. You're not there. And I'll give you just a quick example. So, social media was something that I used to automate. I'd go in once a week. I'd set up all my posts for 2 or 3 of my social medias and it would go. The challenge there was I realized, wow, this feels efficient for me because I seem to be showing up in these places. The problem is if I'm not taking time to stop in, look at comments, actually interact and be present, wow, that actually has the opposite effect on what I'm trying to do with people.
True. Yeah.
Right? Because now they don't feel seen or heard. I'm just putting things on social media. So one of the things I did a couple of years ago was say, okay, I don't need to be in 4 places. Let me be in 2 and let me be there present. And so I just threw other things out that weren't necessary and said, I'm going to focus here and here. And I'm going to show up daily, even if it's to pop in for 5 minutes and take a look at notifications, see if there's a comment, see if there's something to respond to. And so that's an example of you can automate things, but be careful if it's something you want to be present with or should be. And that's that's an interesting, fun conversation. Just it's a bigger conversation as well.
Oh, it is, because we could pull that right back into Beth's life right now and make sure that we're intentional in our family. Don't automate too many things with our kids or family and take ourselves out of the intentional picture. So yeah, I love that.
What a great observation. Absolutely. And that's, that's kind of that, it's sort of an offshoot of the pick your battles thing. Like you just said, Lindsey, there are things you're allowed to sort of put on autopilot. But there are things that if you're not present for, that's going to come back at some point and probably cause some challenges or more at some point. So make sure you're choosing those things that you're going to be present for, because we give our time away a lot. We don't have to, but there are some things we want to make sure we're giving our time to.
Right.
All right.
Which I'm sure we're going to keep talking about. Sorry. All right. I pulled us away. Okay. Who's in the driver's seat?
We can get off. And you got to rein me in because I could talk about this stuff for days. So rein me in, Lindsey.
Okay. Okay. So high energy time is important.
Yep. You got it. So we're going to start, Beth. We're going to show Beth how to set certain things up, and we'll identify those things. And here are the things we're going to put on autopilot, right? And it could be things like, do you pack lunches? You know what? What could you take a half hour and do if you've got 3 kids, Beth? Why don't we set up, what are things you can take a half hour anytime during the week and just like bag up a bunch of bags of carrots, bag up a bunch of bags of chips, bag up, I'm a big fan also of take one time to prep a bunch of stuff and set it to the side. So now all you have to do is walk in, throw things in bags and send the kids off. What a great way to automate, for example. Right? You don't have to go full-blown meal prep, right? But there are really simple ways that we can make our time much more efficient and effective. And that helps us, especially if we're in places during the day where those aren't our high energy points.
Right.
All right.
Yep. Where we can still care what's going in that lunch bag. But
you got it. Yes. It, right? Same thing, if Beth drops the kids off, for example, and then comes back home and works, because maybe Beth works remotely, right? So, what are things you can prep the day before? Even if it's literally, I'm going to get my pen out and I'm going to make a list. I'm looking at my calendar, my to-do list. I'm going to do this first, that second, that third. Boom, done. It can be that simple. So don't overthink organization. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple and it stays really doable. So
I don't know if you hear this out of both of us, but I feel like we are so on the same page. We're both huge permission givers.
Yes.
and huge, don't overthink, like whether it's workouts, food, entrepreneur work, like don't overthink it. Just do you, just keep moving forward. Like that's the key. So anyways, thank you. I'm loving this. Okay, keep going.
Yay. No, Lindsey, it's funny because it's when you sit back and think about it, we get in our own way more than anyone else or anything else. And the beauty of that is once you can realize, wait, this is me causing some of this stress. This is me causing some of these issues or disorganization or the autopilot. I can't stop I'm on the hamster wheel again.
Yeah.
once you learn how to just step off and do something a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So again, if I'm the problem, I'm also the solution. That's the great thing about being part of your own problem, which is great. So,
yeah.
All right. So what that stuff does that we just talked about is it puts Beth in the driver's seat at the beginning of the day. Mm-hmm. And that's that key is if I wake up and I'm already out of control, it's going to be hard to get in the driver's seat that day. Someone's going to have their hand on the wheel all day long. And it's not them. It was that I didn't figure out how to take control at the start. So doing some of those types of things puts me more in control at the start. And I want to pull out, and we'll move to the next question, but I want to pull out, Lindsey, a word that you used about Beth early, which was confidence. How can Beth feel confident to do these things? One of the interesting things about confidence is my definition of confidence is that it's not that you're in control of the situation, because good luck with that most of the time. It's not that you're in control of other people, because good luck with that most of the time. Confidence is about you being in control of you. That's it. So confident people are in control of themselves. And when you learn again the ways to do that, you can walk into any situation and you can be effective. You can walk into a room, no matter who's sitting in that room, and have that conversation or do what needs to be done. It doesn't matter. The outside things don't matter when you start to get in control of you. So getting in the driver's seat, a huge piece of that.
Right.
The next question, then we'll take Beth on. We'll get back on the bus and we'll take a ride to question 2. Beth now needs to figure out what the heck she wants to do, right? Where is she going? What is she trying to accomplish? And again, this doesn't have to be some lofty life goal. This could be today, right? What am I trying to accomplish today or this week? And so again, depending on the situation, there might be things at home, there might be things at work, there might be things with family, there might be things with friends or commitments of other kinds, things like that. So it goes back again to the greatest way to not jump into that hamster wheel autopilot is to take a moment, sit back, and really ask yourself, what am I trying to do today? What is the goal today? Because I think another way we trip ourselves up is we think of lofty goals and we think of these things. And the next 90 days, I'm going to do, those are wonderful things. And we have to be able to look out and plan so we know where we're heading, at least in which direction we're heading. The challenge with getting too stuck on goals too far out is you get so focused on that end goal that you miss all the opportunities along the way because you're here and all the things that you could be doing to help you are right along the path. So get an end goal in mind. That's great. And then always come back to, so what am I going to do today? That's all I have. So that's all I'm going to do. That might again be looking at a calendar or a to-do list. It might be looking at a goal and saying, what's the action step that'll get me one step closer? Because that's all I want to do today. And the where I want to go question also, I encourage people, I invite them and encourage them to not overdo it. Do not pick more than one thing. You will be amazed at how much more you accomplish by holding yourself to one little thing each day. That's it. Do not do more. Even if you want to do more, don't do it, because then you're even more motivated and excited to jump into the thing tomorrow.
Right. Right.
So if you keep going till you burn out, or you just, I'm just going to get as much done as I can, and then you're fried, tomorrow you're going to have no interest in going in. That's when we go, I need a break. I'm going to just take a day. And we lose the momentum. So
yeah, it kind of feels like that on and off again, right? The day where we're like going crazy and then we burn out and then we're off and then we got to regain that energy and get back on. This comes back down to permission again, too, as I'm listening to you, because a lot of people need that permission to take. It's going to feel small. People, listeners, hear this, like your one thing will not feel like enough to you, but you have to have this like faith that it's going to get you there. And that's that settle in part, right? I just think people really struggle with saying that that's going to be enough, that that's actually going to advance me in what I am seeking. And until you see that it does, I mean, it's hard, right? I'm sure you deal with this with your clientele as well, that it's hard to believe that that's going to make a difference.
Absolutely. And I love that you just used the word believe, because here's another way we trip ourselves up. We've never done something a certain way, but we believe it will never work. And that becomes our belief system. And so what we do is we actually have belief systems that are complete lies. Yeah. They're not true at all, right? But we have talked ourselves into, well, it can't be that easy. It's got to be harder than that. Right? And those become belief systems. And once we have those belief systems, it can be hard, because it's hard to, you might step 1 foot over to the new belief system, but it's hard not to keep 1 foot grounded there. And you can't go to where you're going until you've left where you are. You can't be in both places. And so, to take that, that's why we call it a leap of faith. You've got to jump and leap over there sometimes. But it's about belief systems. If you've told yourself something for the last 10 years, you believe it. And even though logically you might know, no, that's not at all true. Or for 10 years, I've done it this way and it's not worked for me, right?
Right.
How about you try something else? Because it may work for you. So, so being able to shift the beliefs, and the way to do that is, again, simply to go, you know what? I can always go back to my old belief. Remind yourself, you can always go back there. It's not like you're abandoning it. So it's almost a safety net for a lot of people to know you can go back there. But for this week, you're not allowed to go there. Think of it like a vacation from your belief system. You're going on vacation for a week. You can come back home. You're going to come back home if you want, but you've got to go away for a week. And during that week, here's how you're going to do things a little differently, because you cannot tell me something won't work if you've never tried it. Right. End of discussion, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm going to interject a real life example here, because I have a couple of things popping in. One, just again, for our listeners, like for the person who's been the I'll out exercise my diet mentality, I feel like it's so easy to keep coming back to that. I'll just work out more hours, or I'll just work out harder, and that will like expedite my weight loss process. And they aren't getting anywhere. And this is what you're talking about, is they have to take a leap of faith into a new journey. We got to get out of that. Like, I'll just out exercise. That is one example that I was thinking. And then the other one with belief systems is I have a lot of clients who I feel like I've had them finally, and this seems to work a little bit, but write down their belief of what they think they should be accomplishing in a day. And when they finally see it on paper, when they see that they think they should be Superwoman or Superman at the end of the day, there's this aha moment of, well, of course I could never do all of that, but they're beating themselves up because they're not accomplishing all of that. So again, those are real life things that I see kind of from week to week with clients that fit right into those belief systems. So back to you.
A couple of great examples. And I'll kind of tag something onto that too, because it's so true. And one thing, the brain dump, if you're ever in your head thinking with this stuff or keeping this stuff up there, get it out of your head, brain dump it, get it on paper. Because like you said, Lindsey, sometimes when you just put it out there and you're going, well, wait, I was telling myself I had a million things to do. And I literally said, I have a million things to do. No, you didn't. You had 4. But if you wrote those things down, you go, oh, I only have 4 things to do today. You've just played them over in your head 100 times. So it feels like you've got so many things to do. So, just dumping stuff out makes what often in our head looks like this. It often is this, and this is so much more manageable than this. So off the bat, you give yourself some energy and some space to do things. You mentioned the weight loss issue. This is something else too. And I had a longtime client who was a no diet person, and she has a phenomenal program. But the big thing that I learned from her was food doesn't make you fat. Your relationship with food makes you fat, was something that she always said. And the way she would work with people is she would differentiate between emotional hunger and physical hunger. And, long-term dieters who, like you said, would just over and over for years, the same thing. And they would always put the blame on themselves. I'm messing up. I didn't do this. I started eating it, whatever it was. And like you said, the pressure becomes, I need to do more of this or more of that. And that often exacerbates the challenges around food and health and exercise. And, she would always tell people, you've never failed on a diet. Diets have failed you many times. And the idea is, think about where the issue is. And I have a friend who this applied to perfectly. You don't have a food problem. You have a stress problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as a stress eater, the stress was the trigger to go reach for more food. And that's what had caused her overweight issue. And the moment that shifted for her, she went, wait a minute, why am I doing this part when I need to learn how to control my stress better? Because that's what triggers it. And so sometimes thinking about all these things differently, we realize that the thing we think is causing something, or the thing we think is the problem or the challenge we're having, isn't really the problem or challenge. And it's fascinating to kind of just step back and look at things differently and go, here's what I'm doing that's causing an issue I'm struggling with. Yeah. What's actually the trigger for this? What's causing this? It might have nothing to do with what I'm trying to solve, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. And the light bulb moment when somebody can finally get that clarity is beautiful, right? And if one of us can figure out how to get to those light bulb moments quicker, but it's a journey. But I 100% agree. And I love your examples there. That was great.
And we'll come back to Beth, and start to kind of keep moving on with that, because with Beth, you had mentioned, she wants to lose a few pounds, right? Because right? Who doesn't, right? We're talking right after Thanksgiving, right? So
I know.
Good timing. But, so that's one of those things too. We're going to cut Beth some slack, and we're going to give her permission to cut herself some slack. So we're done with the diets. We're done with eating differently than everyone else. We're done with all of that. What we're going to do is we're going to get a little more control in her life, and we're going to get her to a place where things feel more manageable. Things feel more in control. She's feeling a little more confident about things. That is going to change a ball game right there. And then we can come back to, so how are we going to make some little shifts on a daily basis, right? On a daily basis again, that are going to help her move towards where she wants to be with her health and weight goals as well.
Yep. Love it.
So, all right. So let's take Beth over to who needs to get off your bus.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm picturing just gently, not the throwing off. I love that you brought that up. There's two types of images that can come quickly to mind. My funny image, why I keep giggling, is this, okie dokie, let's just bump you back a little or off, whatever. All right.
Right. I'm going to start handing seat assignments off on my bus. So today you're sitting in the back. That's okay. But that's where you're sitting if you're going to be on my bus today. That's okay. I've got other things I'm dealing with. It's
right. Okay. Oh, so good.
So, with Beth's bus, here's the first thing I'm going to suggest to her. She needs to be back fully on her bus. Because a lot of times, again, not only do we get out of the driver's seat, but when it feels chaotic and it does feel like everyone else is running the show, oftentimes we almost step off our buses for a while. So we're going to bring Beth back onto her bus. And what we're going to do is, one, we're going to give Beth permission to put a little divider between the bus driver and the passengers. So we're going to find a time during the day. And again, this could be 2 minutes, right? Back to what we were talking about. You don't have to take an hour to do self-care. You don't have to take long amounts of time to do things. What we need to do with Beth is we need for her to be able to manage the people in her life, which might be running amok sometimes. We need to make sure that Beth is taking her oxygen first, so to speak. And there's the old analogy, if you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks fall because the cabin pressure changes, what do they tell you to do? They tell you put your mask on first. And we don't do that a lot. What we do, especially someone like Beth, is Beth gets up and starts doing for everyone else. And in Beth's mind, that's what I have to do in the roles I'm currently in my life, which, yes, again, not negating any of that. However, you are also one of the roles in your life. And if we're always the ones that get thrown to the back seat, right? We're the ones that get thrown to the back. If there's time, I'll go to my yoga class. If there's time, I'll do that 5-minute meditation I was going to try to do again for the 17th day in a row and haven't gotten to it. If I have time, maybe I'll jump in a bath. If I have time, I'll go take a walk, right? We get pushed to the back of the day. And as we all know, once that happens, you're done. Right? You're off the chart for the day. So we're going to bring Beth to the front somewhere, and we're going to find her 5 minutes to get herself in a place where she is solidly and confidently on her bus for the day. Because if I'm confident and solid and on my bus, I can now manage these people better. And I'm going to feel better about stepping up and saying, no, actually, I know that's what we talked about, but here's what we're going to do now. We can be more intentional. We can be more direct. We can be more deliberate. And you used that word intentional earlier, Lindsey. Words like intentional and deliberate and direct are wonderful words. And they are words that if you are going to be fully present ever, if you are going to be confident ever, get comfortable with those three things.
Right.
And if you're not comfortable with those things, confidence can almost feel arrogant, right? Directness can feel mean if you're really not used to those things. So give yourself permission to know that when we are being intentional and deliberate for ourselves, that is actually not only helping us, but it's helping everyone else, right? If I take my oxygen first, I can help everyone else on that plane. If I do not take my oxygen and I run to put everyone else's masks on, I'm going to pass out.
And I have a real life example there too right now for any woman who just hosted anything, whether that was Thanksgiving or like how many times have people run around all morning, gotten things ready, and then company shows up and you haven't even gotten yourself ready yet. So like an example of putting on your own oxygen mask would be get ready. Even if you wish you could shower at the end of getting everything else done, it might not look real in your life circumstance at that moment. So be fully ready, have makeup on, do your hair, then do all your other stuff. So when people walk in, you're not like, oh, I never even got to get ready. They're like those silly small moments that's an example of putting on your own oxygen mask. Okay.
I love that, Lindsey. And again, one of those things is when somebody says, I didn't even get ready to do this for myself. My question is always, why?
Yeah.
Why? Put yourself first. And that actually serves everyone else you want to serve, right? If you don't take it and you pass out, not only can't you help them, they have to stop what they're doing to come help you.
Right.
Get really accustomed to that space of, if I do for me, I can do even more. I can do better for everyone else that I want to, that I choose to.
Right.
So absolutely. It's a great example.
Yeah. Right. I'm thinking that Beth got upgraded to a limo as well. She gets the little divider button that gets to come up.
Nice. By the way, you can decorate your bus any way you want. So get colorful, get creative, enjoy. If it's got spa music on it, that's what it's got. If it's got, whatever you want. It's your bus. So, all right. So once I get me back on my bus or Beth back on her bus, right, and give some of those permissions again and get deliberate, get intentional, it's easier to manage the people because that are on there. Because a lot of times we get pulled into other people's chaos. It's so easy to do. The goal by doing what we just talked about was we're going to start pulling people into our calm. So I'm not getting pulled into your chaos. I'm pulling you into my calm. And again, when I am confident, when I am centered, when I'm grounded, when I am solidly there, when I'm present, that's a powerful place to be. It's a powerful place to be. And now other people's, I'm just going to say it, insignificant things that they're talking about and bringing up. It's okay to say either we're not going to discuss that right now, or what a great conversation. Can we continue that later? Or, hey, could you tell us more about that? You can start to sort of orchestrate what's happening when you're fully present on that bus. And that helps to manage people better.
Okay. And I really want my listeners to hear what you just did there. You have preset statements that you would feel confident saying to a close family member or stranger on the street. that when something like that comes up, we have got to have something that we can just word vomit out, that we're not going to look back on and feel guilty over, feel stressed over. So like you get in a weird predicament, like you were saying, maybe you're on this weight loss journey, you're finally starting to eat some healthy foods and a family member's giving you a really hard time about it. To have a set go to, like, I would love to tell you everything I'm doing later, but right now my brain is not there type of a thing. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that we all need this repertoire of what can we pull from that we feel really confident saying.
Yes. And that, and that's, part of boundaries, which again is another wonderful topic, but way too much for what we're talking about.
For our hour. Yes.
Part of setting boundaries is, again, I'm setting boundaries for me. And as long as they're healthy boundaries, right? And what always comes to mind with things like you just said is I have no idea who to attribute this to, but I think it's the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. You will never be criticized or questioned by someone doing more than you. You will only be criticized or questioned by someone doing less.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let that just land in your brain, when people do start bringing things at you, you can't do that, or that's no good, or you've never been able to do that. Consider the source.
Yeah.
Consider the source. If that person is not either doing exactly what I want to do, or they have not already done it, their opinion about it means nothing.
So good. Yes.
And that, again, getting those things set in your mind. And like you said, Lindsey, what a great idea. Putting together a repertoire of how I'm going to say what I'm going to say when these situations come up, and talk about being intentional and deliberate. Boom, happens, done.
Yeah. Which means practice, right? Like you'd have to really practice saying some of this stuff. So it just comes out.
Exactly. And you know what? Stand in front of that mirror, do it. Pick up your phone, hit the voice record and say it, and get really confident. Again, that's that part of confidence again. Get comfortable saying it, because it's going to be uncomfortable the first few times you do it.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Uncomfortable just means different, and it's often exactly what we need.
Right. And which brings us, I keep pulling you so far away, of who needs to get off our bus. Maybe those people who aren't feeding us that confidence, the energy we need. I always say energy suckers and energy givers. Do the energy suckers kind of head towards the back? What's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. And givers, Beth is a giver, just based on everything we've talked about so far. Givers need to set limits, because takers never will. And so, as a giver, again, those boundaries, those limits are things that are so important. And like you said, again, just like get off my bus, a name and face comes to mind when we think, who are energy givers in your life? Who are the energy suckers? We know where we get our stress. We know where we get our energy. We know that if we just stop and take a moment to think about it. And so, sometimes, again, those energy suckers might be sitting on that bus because they're people we deal with every single day, right? We work with them, we live with them, we talk to them, whatever it might be. The idea is, where am I putting my mental attention? Where am I putting my focus? Because like so many things, it's just how our brain works. We get pulled to the negative instead of getting pulled to the positive. We have to work to take ourselves to the positive sometimes. That's why, weather forecasters always say it's going to be partly cloudy. They rarely say partly sunny, or they tell you there's a 20% chance of rain. They don't come on and say there's an 80% chance of sun today. There's this negative thing that pulls us in, which is why psychologically negativity is often used to pull you in to things. Again, another conversation for a different day.
Right.
But what happens with the energy suckers is, it's not so much that they're pulling our energy so much as it is we're focusing on them way too much. So for example, maybe I have a challenging phone call first thing in the morning with a friend who just, I get off the phone and I'm in that mode. I go in and a couple hours into work, somebody says, "Hey, you okay? You seem a little stressed today." And what head pops into my head? Oh, so my friend so-and-so, I had a conversation this morning, and we relive it. And then, after lunch, somebody's like, "Hey, you okay? Geez, you seemed a little mad in that meeting. Oh, it's still, and we relive that situation. We get home. How'd your day go? You want to know how it started? So-and-so called. And do you know what he said? And we relive the negativity. We relive the energy sucking over and over and over. That person pulled it out of us here. We carried it through the day and kept bringing it back up. And so sometimes a great way to have one of the energy suckers drift back in your bus naturally is to find some closure right here. And a great way to do this, let's say I have that conversation in the morning and I'm in a mode, but I am aware and I know I'm the one that can carry this through the day. That person, it's over. The conversation's done. What am I going to do to not carry that through? And what I often suggest people do is use something that I call a vent clock. And it's almost similar to I have a million things, but when I dump them on paper, I actually have 4. It completely puts everything in perspective quickly. And what it is, my vent clock is you take your phone or your watch or whatever has a stopwatch on it, and you set the clock for, let's say, 3 minutes. That's your vent clock. For the next 3 minutes, you have complete permission to vent. You can get it all out, say what you need to say. I'm going to hit go. It starts and I'm going to, whatever's going to come out is going to come out, because the first thing we need to do is get it out of our system. If not, it's going to keep popping up. What typically happens is if I set that vent clock for 3 minutes, after about a minute, I'm out of things to say. And again, it gets everything out, because that's how you don't carry it through the day. You've unpacked the baggage right early, so you don't have to carry the baggage through the day. But also it puts it in perspective that I was making this a big thing in my head. It actually was this, and now it's this. It's not that it didn't happen, but I just deflated the balloon completely. And now I can carry the balloon still, because it's probably going to get blown up next time I talk to that person. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to carry a full balloon around. I'm always going to make sure I deflate it before I continue through my day.
Oh, so good. I'm loving this. Okay. So Robin, I hear that's your name, Beth, our person, let's say maybe a kid like really set her off before she let him out the door in the morning. Same thing. Once she gets back home, she is setting the vent clock, letting it all out. And maybe that includes tears. I can picture a lot of moms being like, I hate that the morning stopped like that. So like, get the tears out, like maybe write a little letter to your kid of how you wish you would have reacted to something, and then move on. Right.
Exactly. And I'm going to use the words you just used, Lindsey, because they're perfect. Just move on. And here's the thing with that is oftentimes when just move on, I think we use it the wrong way instead of using just move on the right way. Because if we use it the wrong way, you can't just move on. You go, how can I just move on? And we make it a big thing again.
Yeah.
The way that you can literally just move on is, again, you've got to find some sort of release. Because oftentimes what happens is, we keep it in. All right. You know what? I'm not going to let them see me cry. Why? Go in a hallway somewhere or go outside and scream at the top of your lungs and let it out. It literally 30 seconds, it will all be out and you'll come back in and you will be more powerful than you ever have been before. What weakens us, I think, sometimes is we hold all of that in and it's still going to come out. It's still going to come out somewhere. It has to. And so what happens is if we choose when we let that out, because it's coming out anyway, and it's healthy, it's a healthy thing to happen. It's not a weakness. It's not a bad thing. We are in control of when that comes out. If not, we hold it in. It's going to control when it comes out, and it's never going to be at a time that's going to help us or that we want it to be.
Right.
And so, you drop the kid at school. Oh, they made you nuts. You come back home right then and there. And some people say, well, I'm just going to jump into work, for example, or I'm going to just start cleaning something. I'm going to stop.
Right. And now you stuffed it down.
Stop. Right. And give yourself that space. Yeah. All of the recovery and all of your power and all of your confidence gets recharged in the space not in your continuing to do activity. And so what we tend to do is, I'm just going to jump into work. Well, okay, but that's all still in there. And again, it's going to come out. And, it's probably going to come out in a meeting. You're talking to somebody on your team and you didn't even realize it. And yes, your tone of voice or something was still there. Mm-hmm. And it sends a lot of miscommunication. And now you don't understand why your team's mad at you, right? Mm-hmm. Because you never released the thing that your kid said this morning that kind of irked you a bit. Mm-hmm. Give yourself permission to let it out. Again, we talk about baggage. We all have baggage we carry around. You're allowed to open up the suitcase and unpack the baggage. Once you unpack it, you don't have to carry it anymore. So when you get in that habit of getting it out, whether that's a good cry, whether that is literally primal screaming, whether it's a vent clock, whether it's sitting down with a pen and paper and just dumping things out, get it out of you. It's a gross example, but it's no different when you're sick, right? You're going to be well again once everything's out. That's how you do it, right? So understand mentally that's how we work as well. And yes. while there are sometimes clinical issues that are part of that, and that of course, please, if there's something clinical or if these things aren't things that I've tried these and they're not working for me, yes. Wonderful resources and outlets to help with any sort of situation. For your day-to-day type stress, these are little tiny things you can do that have a huge impact. And right. The more you do them, because they're so simple, it's almost they're too simple. Yes. Even if it's take a couple of breaths, right? When someone else is so stressed, what do we tell them to do? Take a couple of deep breaths. Okay, now tell me what's going on. Mm-hmm. Because it works. Oxygen is a tranquilizer. Sit back, take a couple of deep belly breaths, and you'll notice those stress levels quickly come down so they're more manageable. So all of those little things are things that Beth can do or any of us can do. The key is release. Get it out. Please don't hold things in. That is where we get into trouble.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I thank you for putting that the precursor, whatever the word I'm looking for here, but that there is clinical and sometimes we need to seek professional help. What Robin and I are talking about today is not that. This is like for every person can implement these steps and get somewhere in a smoother, better flowing life. So thank you for pointing that out. I want to make sure, I know we're getting close on time, but I love this next part of inviting onto our bus. I consider this like curating, whether that's curating our social media, curating our friends, like making sure our environment is who we need to be surrounded by. So let's dive into that and I will shush.
Lindsey, we could probably talk all day, couldn't we?
We could. We'll go 5 minutes here, let everyone know where to find you, and then this is just part one of Beth's Sacks.
Right.
Okay.
So who needs to get on Beth's bus? So a lot of times, again, we think of people, and I love that you mentioned social media because think about what you're surrounding yourself with from a social media standpoint. And I'll give you a real life example. I have a friend who has been a friend literally my entire life because our fathers were friends. So we grew up together. And as naturally positive thinking as I am, she is naturally negative thinking. And I think part of our friendship has really been that we never really could understand, how can you think like this? How can you think like this? And that we often meet in the middle and find we've taught each other a ton because of that. And one of the things that several years ago, she really was going through some pretty severe stress and anxiety. And one of the things that she was doing, and we do this a lot of times, is we start to seek things out that fit our narratives. And so, everything was bad, everything was awful, the world is going to pot, right? And that's what she was. And what we did is we basically did a complete redress of her social media. And there was a social media, this happened to be on Instagram because she wasn't on Instagram. She was on other social media platforms. So I said, look, here's what you're going to do. You're going to open an Instagram account because you have nothing there. And that is going to be you're only going to follow people who have certain things to say. And we had a list of things, and they were all very positively bent. They were forward-thinking things. They were things that were about mindfulness and just stuff she never really had delved into at all in her life or been terribly exposed to. And what she did is, long story short, she made that one of the, I want to say, people on her bus. And she could go to that space at any time and get re-energized, get rejuvenated, help her flip the switch from feeling positive and stressed to, I got this. And she was only allowed to follow places that were all about the things that gave her a lift when she needed a lift. And now she is on there daily. She's posting constantly. That is her go-to. And she's actually kind of let some of the other things drift away. And so it's not only about bringing new people onto your bus, but you can think of the stuff we're surrounded by all day, every day. For example, social media. What are the ones you want to push back to the back of your bus, even if, or get off of completely, right? Take them off the bus if that's always an option. And what are some ones you want to bring to the front and why? With social media, you can create the space you want because you can follow who you want. You can unfollow who you want. You can actually mold it into something that's a place for you to go anytime you need what you need. Whether that's encouragement, whether it's the cheerleader, whether it's just a positive thought, whether it's some tough love. I'm glad you're thinking that now that you're over that. Stop telling yourself that BS and go do what you need to do, right?
Right.
You can get what you need in a way you need to do it. So I would say think of your social media as some of those people you need to get on your bus, because we often think of social media as I got to get off of that or get that off my bus. Use it in a way that really serves you, and you will be amazed at how you've got that friend in your hand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you need them.
I totally agree. I view that as like my podcast interview guest. I feel so stinking privileged to be able to sit here this morning with you and listen to this. And it just naturally comes into my life. And, I feel like for the person who isn't getting that, you have to work a little harder to curate, to your point. So, and we do have things at our fingertips if used appropriately. Yes. I love that. So yes, people coming onto our bus can be people, but it also can be media. It can be all of that. Okay. And the final question.
Anything, yes.
Yes. Your fifth question for Beth is.
Fifth question. Whose bus does Beth need to get off of? So I'm going to guess, just because where Beth is in her life, that there are probably a dozen things that Beth does, because again, we've all been here, done this.
Yeah.
Has Beth, because she has kids, has Beth been pulled towards a PTA or helping out with the bake sale or going to, every practice and staying instead of just going to games? Where can Beth look at things in life? Does Beth need to, every Tuesday we made Taco Tuesday and Mom made Taco. Mom's going to order from Taco Bell today on Taco Tuesday. We're going to switch it up because I'm going to get off that bus for a week and choose not to do that. We're going to do it differently. That's okay. I'm going to step off of the PTA, or I'm going to drop my kid to their practice and not stay and talk to all the other parents. I've got an hour. How much can I go get done in an hour knowing my kid is somewhere safe, enjoying, having fun with people I know are good for them to be with?
Yeah.
Go away. Where can you place something and leave? We don't need hours of time to do things. A half hour here, a half hour there. We can get so much done and checked off those lists. So get off some of those buses. At work, there could be things where you might have stepped into obligations or commitments, and you truly might be overwhelmed with this. Have a conversation with, the team. Have a conversation with a boss. Have a conversation. A lot of times we're afraid to do those things because it's like, well, but then I could get fired. They're going to demote me. I'm not going to be up for the promotion because they're going to think I did less. No, confident people have those conversations and say, look, again, make it about them, not about you. You know what? I am overloaded right now. I know that Joe, left last month and I picked up a bunch of his slack. here's the thing. Some of this stuff is suffering, and I do not want to do a disservice to these clients because I have to service these other 3 clients. Can we have a conversation? What are some thoughts? What are some things we can do? Because again, the concern is not that I don't have time and I'm overloaded. The concern is I don't want these accounts to suffer because I needed to pick these up. I'm happy to jump in and help. Long term, this could cause a problem. So what can we do here? And brainstorm, have that conversation. Again, we know our relationships with people and with our jobs and bosses and teams. So again, different situations are going to dictate different types of conversations or any conversations at all. I understand that. But don't be afraid to be confident, deliberate, and intentional. And if there's a good reason why something else might be going by the wayside, there might be something you can step off of there. Or can we brainstorm how to work this differently? Right? So think in terms of you do a lot of things, and most of those things are by choice. However, you can make different choices at any given time. And, every few months, go through what are your obligations and your commitments right now? Which are you choosing to keep? Which are you going to choose to say, I'm going to step away from this. I'll give you some notice, but I'm going to step away from it. Maybe I can help you find someone else to step in now. It's okay to do that. Sometimes we think, I can't step away because what will they do if I leave the board? I'm the person. They'll get someone else. Don't worry about that. If you're not serving something anymore or it's not serving you, it is time to step away. And that's okay to do. As a matter of fact, it's important to do both for yourself and often the other side, because it's time for new ideas, new blood, new thinking to come in. It's okay.
That's so true. And honestly, for any listener listening to you going, that sounds so good in theory, and I'm terrified. Well, that's the reason why we have the Robin Sachs in the world who are coaches who can handhold you through these processes of extreme uncomfortableness. And we don't have to sit in the uncomfortable. We can grab that coach and say, I need you during this season of my life to help grow that muscle of confidence, grow that muscle of it's okay to have this conversation because I have somebody else backing me and helping to feed those one-liners. So I listen to you, and then it's like I could take that and I could run with it. And again, like if the person doesn't feel like they have somebody naturally like that in their life, we do have to seek it out. And you know what? We have to pay for it. So, and it's worth it. It's worth every penny. Where can people find you?
Well, thank you for the kind words there, Lindsey.
Yes.
You know what? My website is robinjsachs.com, and there's tons of free videos. There's tons of free articles, lots of stuff there. If you want to just dive in and get some great tips, you can also see how to work with me there if that's something of interest. I am on LinkedIn daily. I'm very active there. And again, post things all the time, videos, articles, all kinds of great things. Sometimes just those types of little memes that you look at and go, I needed to hear that today. And that's often sometimes all people need. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime. I'm on Instagram, not as much as I am on LinkedIn, but those are probably the best places to reach me. I do have a blog on Medium. And if you'd like to go to Medium, whether you subscribe or not, you can read a bunch of my stuff there as well.
I noticed on your website too, does your blog transfer over to that, the 1 Minute Mindset blog?
Yeah. So the 1 Minute Mindset blog is right on my website. So you can find that there. And a lot of times the 1 Minute Mindset blog, and my Medium articles are kind of mirroring one another. So you can follow on either one if you'd like. Feel free to do that.
Perfect. And are you always found Instagram, LinkedIn? Is it always Robin J. Sachs?
Yes, or just Robin Sachs. The only reason my website is Robin J. Sachs is because there's a Robin Sachs in New York City who's an interior decorator who doesn't use the URL that she owns, which is robinsachs.com. So I had to throw my middle initial in there. But if you Google Robin Sachs, you will find all of my stuff. Definitely.
Oh, and you have to send our listeners out with one last, if you could wrap your arms around them, I ask all my interviewed guests this, what would be your one thing that you were like, I pray and hope that you take this away from today, if you take nothing else away?
While I could repeat some of the nuggets that we mentioned, but I'm going to do this just because we've been talking about, and you just mentioned again, it feels different. If stuff feels different, here's what I'm going to ask everyone to do. If everyone would just cross their arms, And now I'm going to ask you, cross them the other way.
It's weird.
Right? It's almost like you got to think like, it's hard to do. And even if you were able to do it, it's really uncomfortable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm,
but when I asked you to cross your arms the first time, we didn't think about it. It was so simple. Here's the thing to know about feeling different. You have a bunch of habits that are just autopilot and muscle memories, and all they are habits. And if those habits serve you, do not change them. However, if they're not serving you, or you would like to do something different, it's okay to cross your arms the other way. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But if you cross your arms that other way for the next week, it'll be as natural as the way you normally cross them. So little things done consistently become those new habits, and they have a big impact. So practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Find those little things, get uncomfortable, get comfortable with them, and just don't ever stop doing them. And you're well on your way.
You are such a treasure. We are so lucky today. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you, Lindsey. You as well. Thanks for the invite to share.